Hi everyone, Michael Cavacini here, and today I want to talk to you about Kiss, off the Soundboard live in Poughkeepsie, New York, 1984. I want to share with you my thoughts on this album. I was lucky enough to get an advance copy of this new live release from Kiss, so let's dive in and talk about it. So off the Soundboard. So this album is coming out April 7th, 2023. It's the next installment in Kiss's Off the Soundboard official live bootleg series. So this is recorded live at the Mid-Hudson Arena on November 28th, 1984. It was during the band's Animalize World Tour. It's the fifth in a series of live releases by the band. It's available to stream, download. There's a 2 LP standard black vinyl set, a CD, and a limited edition 2 LP set pressed on 180 gram custard yellow vinyl. So if you want that, you can get that. So let's dive in here. So this is recorded on the Animalize tour. Now the thing that's really interesting about this release is that it features, it's the only known soundboard recording with Mark St. John. So Mark St. John was with Kiss for a cup of coffee, as we know. Now one thing to point out is that 2 of the tracks are incomplete. So Young and Wasted and Rock and Roll All Night are incomplete. Why? Well, it was because of a tape change and tape space. So literally they were recording this and I guess they ran out of tape and they had to quick swap out the tape, and that led to the issue. So these recordings were originally for archival use. So this live recording is of historical importance, obviously due to Mark St. John being on it. So how do they handle this? Well, when you listen to the track where it's incomplete, they fade. So especially Rock and Roll All Night, I was like, how are they going to end this album with Rock and Roll All Night being incomplete? So what they do is they fade out. So, Kiss is doing the chorus. It's only about 4 minutes and I think 43 seconds, the whole song. And they're just, singing, I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day. And it fades out. So they're singing that kind of a few times and then it fades. So it actually works out pretty well, considering. I was like, is it just going to end abruptly? What's going to happen here? So that's how they handled it, is they just faded, right, for these incomplete tracks to make it work. So this specific recording was in the midst of the U.S. leg of the successful Animalize World Tour, and short-lived lineup, right? You had Paul, Gene, Eric Carr, Mark St. John. So this album includes 18 songs. So you've got, let me take a look at the track list. All right, so it kicks off with Detroit Rock City, which is fantastic, of course. Then you have Cold Gin, Creatures of the Night, Fits Like a Glove, Heaven's on Fire. Then you have a guitar solo. So let's kind of go through this a little bit. So Mark St. John, I've read that he was classically trained guitarist and things like that. But for me, to be a good guitarist in Kiss, you need to kind of have that crunchy, raw sound. So, for example, Cold Gin, right? You have that. So that guitar riff, he does an okay job. It's not great. Like when you see the Animalize live, VHS or DVD with Bruce Kulick, that it's actually a really sped up version, right, of Cold Gin. And a lot of the classic Kiss songs, they sped up in the 80s. I actually prefer that to what Mark St. John does here. He's not bad. It's just not as, like, I don't know, I feel like Ace Frehley and Tommy Thayer do a much better job at that riff than Mark St. John. And I think Bruce Kulick kind of made it his own. Because I feel like once Bruce got into the band, they did these more sped up versions. And then they formed their own unit and became 80s Kiss, right? So I think Mark St. John, he did an okay job. So if you're expecting some like kick-ass, awesome guitar riffs on Cold Gin, you're not going to really get it. You'll just get like a serviceable riff. Creatures of the Night is great. Detroit Rock City, like I said, is awesome. One thing that is apparent is on the album art, it says explicit parental advisory, right? And I think this is the first explicit off the soundboard, even though Paul cursed in some other ones. But this one features, quite a bit of cursing. I don't know when that officially happened in Kiss's career, when Paul just started to curse live, because they were very PG or family friendly around Dynasty, to the point where it hurt the band's reputation. And I guess they decided, let's become more adult, not only in our look, but our demeanor, our music, just become more adult, right? And Paul totally followed through with that, with his throwing F-bombs around here and there and stuff like that. But anyway, Fits Like a Glove is a good time, which is not one of my favorite songs, but I enjoy it here. I think it's a good recording. Heaven's on Fire is a good time. Lots of crowd participation, guitar solo. So you have the guitar solo from Mark St. John. It's very short. It's maybe like 2 minutes and 40 seconds. It's very short. I was looking forward to listening to it. It basically sounds like what you expect from Mark St. John. You know how Gene said, "Oh, you sound like a bee." There's a woo, like that type of guitar playing is what you're going to get. So it's a lot of that up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down as quickly as possible. I mean, there's not a lot of originality or creativity when it comes to his guitar playing in Kiss. I don't know why. Obviously, he's capable, or was capable, of much more. I just think maybe he felt the pressure of being in Kiss and felt like, oh, this is how rock guitar gods play in the 80s, so I need to play this way. I don't know. I'm not sure. I wish he were still alive so I could ask him these questions. But the guitar solo is unremarkable. It's nice to have, but it doesn't even compare to anything from Ace, Tommy. I've never been a big Vinnie Vincent fan, so I really can't compare those two. I feel like Vinny's probably better than Mark St. John. But the guitar solo is, whatever. Under the Gun. It's fun. Again, it's not one of my favorite songs, but it's a good time. Drum solo. So you have the War Machine, and that goes into the drum solo. One of the best things about this album is Eric Carr. His drumming is just fantastic. I mean, he was such a step up from Peter Criss. So Peter Criss, I enjoyed him for what he was, but Eric Carr had a great sound, and he was so much faster and so much more complex and just so much more interesting. The drums really just stand out on those Kiss albums with Eric Carr, and this live album is no different. I mean, Eric Carr is just wonderful. He's the star on this album. Paul's always wonderful to listen to, but Eric Carr's drumming on this is just so fun and enjoyable to hear. So I think that, especially on the beginning of War Machine, we all know that, right? Dum 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 dum. It's just good stuff, and his drum solo is fun as well. So if you love Eric Carr, you're gonna enjoy this. Young and Wasted, like I said, it's incomplete, so they find a way to blend it into using fading and things to make it not jarring. And then after that, you have the bass solo, which is interesting. I think it's interesting to hear the bass solo because we're so used to Gene's makeup bass solo since like the reunion tour, pretty much being the exact same bass solo forever, right? Just going into God of Thunder. It's literally the same bass solo. I feel like he hasn't changed his bass solo since the reunion tour. So to hear one that's completely different from the 80s is a breath of fresh air. So I do enjoy it. I Love It Loud. I actually got to sing this song with Gene on his solo tour, which that happened to be my bachelor party. So I got on stage and sang I Love It Loud with Gene, which was a great experience, but actually I never really cared for this song. I understand why it's a good live song, because you have the, hey, yeah, right? It's a good call and response. But it's also a song that kind of overstays its welcome, right? It just goes on and on. If I never hear I Love It Loud again, I guess I'll be a happy guy. Although I did get a ticket to see Kiss December 1st in Madison Square Garden, so I wonder, will I Love It Loud be part of the set list? Probably. So I probably will hear it one more time. But it's okay. It'll be my last Kiss concert, so I'll sing along. I Still Love You. One of the greatest songs from Creatures. I'm very happy that it's present, because Paul's voice at this point in the history of the band was good, but this being a bootleg, soundboard recording, means that there are many times that you're listening to these songs and Paul's mouth isn't right in front of the microphone. So there are times when his voice is kind of cutting in, cutting out, because it's live. They didn't sweeten this in any way. It's the recording. So you have to go into it expecting that. The audio quality of this album is good for being a soundboard recording from 1984. It's not crystal clear. It's not perfectly mixed. I don't even know if it was mixed at all, frankly, because there are times when you hear voices that you wouldn't expect to hear. Like, like a Live 3, where it's super polished to the point where some people dislike it. You're not getting that here at all. And you're not even getting the level of polish that you have with the Live. It's literally as if your friend said, hey man, I've got a copy of this Alive, or this Animalized tour recording bootleg, wanting to listen to it. Like, that's the quality you're getting here. But it's good for what it is, because it's a time capsule. So, I Still Love You, wonderful. Paul had just a great vibrato back in the day, all the way up until Rock the Nation was the last tour, when he had that fantastic voice. Just a fantastic vibrato, just this type of voice where you're just like, how can a human sing like that? So I Still Love You. It's great to have that on here, because it's one of those songs that hasn't been beaten to death. So it's nice to have it. Love Gun, my all-time favorite Kiss song. Good Time. Glad it's here. Like I said, Mark St. John, his guitar work is serviceable. Not great, but good enough. Black Diamond, fun time. Especially, Paul kind of kicking things off, asking people to sing along, join in. And throughout the night, he's talking about how it's like really hot in the place and passing around drinks. And I think at one point, one of these songs, some woman throws a bra on stage or something. He's like, I got a bra right here. He's like, and I'd like to have what was in this bra in my mouth. Like the banter that you get from Paul on this album is just ridiculous. So it's just same thing with Love Gun, right? He's like, that ain't a pistol, honey. That's my love gun, right? You're getting all that good stuff here. So if you love that kind of 80s cheesy Paul sexual humor type of stuff, you're gonna have fun with this. So after Black Diamond, you have Oh Susanna, so it's instrumental. It's not really a song, it's like an instrumental, there's not much to it. Lick It Up, Paul talking about people who know what to lick and how to lick it before going into the song. It's fun. And then, of course, they end with Rock and Roll All Night, like I said, which is incomplete, but it's long enough that it doesn't ruin the album. I was afraid it was going to just be like a couple minutes, but it's actually almost 5 minutes long, and then it fades out. So yeah, this album, Kiss off the Soundboard, live in Poughkeepsie, New York, 1984. I think it's a good time. I like it. I think it's fun. I'm glad that they're finally releasing something from the 80s. Because what did we get? We got, the Rock the Nation tour. We got, the Farewell tour. We've gotten Reunion tour. To have some unmasked 80s Kiss. That's what I look forward to. I want to see more of this. I want to get Hot in the Shade. I want to get Asylum. I want to get Crazy Nights tour. I want to get all of that stuff, because 80s Kiss is awesome. I mean, I always find that I'm a fan of whatever is not most popular. What I mean by that is, I love 80s Kiss. I think 80s Kiss is spectacular. Dionne Warwick was known for her Burt Bacharach and Hal David music, but I actually love her 80s stuff, where she was with Arista. I enjoy people's careers in the 80s, even if they became popular in the 70s or the 60s, because I think it's interesting to see how artists evolve over time. 10 years, 15 years into their career, 20 years even. What are they doing? How are they adapting? How are they changing? And I love how Kiss adapted in the 80s. Some people might say, oh, they were just trying to copy Bon Jovi and all these other bands, and maybe, but I think they made it their own, and I think there are a ton of great songs from the 80s albums. Not all those albums are great from start to finish, but there's a lot of good stuff, and to experience that live feeling of seeing an 80s Kiss show through this off the Soundboard recording is wonderful for someone like me who was not old enough or even alive. I wasn't even born in 1984, so I couldn't even have been there. So, to be able to have these albums, I think, is just a real treat. And as we head into this last year of Kiss, right, it's the final 50 shows, they're going to end their career, presumably, in Madison Square Garden in New York. And here we are listening to them in Poughkeepsie in New York in 1984 on the Animalize tour. It's pretty cool. I think that this should be a year to celebrate all things Kiss. And I think that this album is a great way to do that. So if you want to celebrate 80s Kiss, and you have a soft spot for 80s Kiss like I do, and you want to get the first and only official Kiss Live album featuring Mark St. John, here's your opportunity. I think it's a good, it's a great historic piece to enjoy and listen to. And I'm going to listen to it many times because I do want to hear Mark St. John again. And I hope you enjoyed my review of this album. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, visit me at michaelcavacini.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day, guys. Bye.